Hello, my name is Kaceli. The following is a comprehensive tutorial on Word 2019, which is part of the Microsoft 365 apps. This is a concepts-based tutorial, which means that the concepts you'll learn here, you'll be able to apply them in other versions of Word. I will start with the very basics and then move to the more advanced features. The tutorial is designed for those who want to be proficient in the workplace, interviewing for a position, or students who are wanting to learn Word. So let's get started. In this segment, I'm going to go over the process for opening the application and identifying some of the key components of the application interface. So to open Word, once we have it installed on the computer, we click here on Start and then locate it under the list of our programs here, or we simply type Word and then hit Enter. Once we open Word, we are presented with these options here. On the left, we have three tabs. We have the Home tab, New, and Open. On the Home tab, we have the option to create a blank document or some guides and templates directly from Microsoft. Then further below here, we have an option to open recent documents that we have been working on, or pinned documents, or documents that are shared with me. Further down here on the left, on the next tab on New, we have here the option to create a blank document or to create a document from a template. This is so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's say you want to create a resume or you want to create a brochure and what. And I'll go over this in a moment using templates. The next option here is to open a document, where we can open from recent documents or OneDrive or files shared with me or files stored on this PC. Further down, we have also the account option. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that I'm using Office 2019 and Word 2019 as part of Office 365. So the way you know that it's Office 365 is by clicking here on the account. And then if you're logged in under account information here, that means that you have Office 365 in your computer. The advantage of Office 365 is that you'll be receiving the latest enhancements and updates from Microsoft from month to month or every so often. So at this point, let's say that we wanted to create a new document. We can do that either by clicking here under the Home tab. We click on the blank document option, or we could go here under the New tab and we click on blank document or use one of the templates. In this case, first I'm going to click on blank document. So once we click on blank document, then we are presented with the option to simply start typing away and start working on this particular document. Now, this main area here is where we type the document. Now, a couple other interface components here. On the very top left, you'll see here this quick access toolbar. This is basically an area for you to place in here commonly used commands in Microsoft Word. So you can click on the drop down, and let's say you're emailing a document or you're opening documents all the time. You can enable those buttons by just simply clicking one of those, and it will add the open button here. Another way to add those buttons is that if you are in a specific tab, and I'll go over the tabs in a moment, and you want to insert, let's say, pictures all the time, you can right-click on this and choose to add it to the quick access toolbar. So in this case, it will always show up here. You don't have to go under the Insert tab and then Pictures, but you can simply use it from here. Now, if you want to remove it from here, you can right-click on it and choose to remove it from the Quick Access toolbar, and it will remove it from there. So that's the Quick Access toolbar on the very top. On the left-hand side here, the first option is File. File is basically bringing you back to work with anything related to the file in the computer, whether you want to create a new file, open an existing file, or information about the specific file that you're working with, or saving that file, or printing it, sharing it, and things of that nature. So that's your File tab. The next thing here is the Home tab. So these are the different tabs actually. So if I click on Insert, you'll have a different set of tools within that tab. If I click on Design, again, a different set of tools. So under the Home tab, you have various commands or various options for you to work in this application. So these are the most commonly used tools for you to edit a document in Word. And these are referred to as the groupings. So you have the font grouping, or the group for font-related commands, or paragraph, formatting the paragraph grouping. So these are all the functions related to formatting paragraphs, or styles, applying a style to a document and so on. All the style stuff is over here, editing over here, and other options. So again, just a key concept here, this stage is to understand that there are different tabs. Each tab has groupings. Within each grouping, there is a set of functions or commands grouped together related to that function, to, let's say, paragraphs, modifying the text and stuff. Then you have the inserts, and these are designed intentionally this way. So you initially type your document with a bunch of text in here. Then once you have typed that document, then you can apply formatting to it. You can change the paragraphs, you can apply styles, and we'll learn about all of these different functions in this tutorial. Once you have done these basic things with your document or your report, then you can go here under Insert, and that's where you can insert cover pages, blank pages, page breaks, tables, pictures, icons, 3D models, and SmartArt, and all of these different functions, comments, headers and footers, and things of that nature. So you are inserting, enhancing your original document. Under the Design tab, now you go into a different layer of enhancing this document. So you're kind of applying a theme, and we'll learn about the themes in depth later, but you're making all the components in this document uniform. The next component here is the layout. You're changing the layout of the document, or whether it's the margins for the document, or the orientation from landscape to portrait, or the size of the document, or adding columns and things of that nature. Now, then you move to the references. This is like where you're taking it even farther. For example, you have a long report. Now you're creating a table of contents. You're adding footnotes, and you're researching and finding and applying citations and the captions for various images and things of that nature. So you're kind of refining it at this stage. Then you have the Mailings tab. That's kind of by itself. That's just a separate function for you to do mail merges, whether it's creating envelopes, labels, or letters, or emails, or a directory, and so on. Then under the Review tab, this is kind of one of the last steps. Let's say you finalized your report. Now you need to review it. So you go under the thesaurus, you check the word count, you check it for accessibility, you add comments to it and collaborate with others, and track changes when you're collaborating with others. You can even compare documents and restrict functions within this specific document. And then finally, within this application, then you can also do a final review of your document, where you're going here under the View tab, and then you can do a reading mode where you're viewing the document, just reading through to make sure it's what you intended it to be. And this is kind of how you can customize the application for various views within your computer. And we'll get into this more in depth later. And you also have the help option, where this is where you can learn about training, or what new features are there and things like that. But also, along with the help here, notice that on any of these tabs, you have this option here under on the top here, and you can type, let's say, margins. You are not sure how to set the margins, you can simply search in this area for that function, and it will take you to that specific command. So you don't have to know where that command is, under which tab or which grouping. You can simply search it here. So footnotes, you want to know how to add a footer and such, you simply start typing and it will take you directly there. So those are the components here on the ribbon. This is the Office ribbon with the various components. Now, you also have the option here, since this is part of Office 365, you can share this document with other individuals. Of course, you have to be connected with OneDrive for this, and you can comment with other individuals as well on this specific document. Now, on the bottom right area here, this is where you can change the zoom for the document, like not necessarily the font size, but the display, just the zooming in and out of the document, basically. You can change the views here to have this in reading mode or to have it in print layout mode. Typically, you want to have it in print layout mode. You also have the focus mode here as well. Basically, it's hiding everything else, but it's displaying you only your document. Then you can adjust display settings to optimize it for various options here. Then on the left-hand side, you have the number of words and various statistics about this document, and then the number of pages and navigation here as well. So these are some of the general components of Word, and in the next session we are going to learn how to create a document, some of the very basics, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but just before we move to the more advanced features of Word. So stay tuned for the next session. In this segment, we are going to go over some of the very basic functions which most likely you know how to do already in Microsoft Word. We're going to simply create a basic document, do some very basic formatting, and then save it. And then also we're going to learn how to use a template instead of reinventing the wheel. So we go here under Start, and then we can open Word from recently used applications, or simply type Word here, open it up. At this point, I'm going to first create a new blank document. So simply start typing. Remember the functions on the menus here and on the Office ribbon. So we simply start typing. And then typically as you are typing and the cursor or the words reach the end of the line here, of course the content will move on to the next line automatically. This is very basic, but I needed to kind of mention it just for those that are very new to Microsoft Word. Now, additionally here, you can add various items such as bulleted lists, numbered lists, and format things a certain way. So now that we created some text in this document, we can format this and work on this. So let's pretend this is our document. At this point here, we can make this, let's say, bold, make this bold, and change the font type. Let's say we want to change the font size. Now notice as you're changing the font size, you have these two icons in here as well to increase the indentation and decrease it as well. You can also have other options such as uppercase and lowercase. So we are basically selecting the text first, and then you're making these modifications to that selected text. Now, besides using these functions here under the font, Obviously, you can go and change the color once you select it as well if you wanted to. Additionally, let's say that down here in these list of items, we want them to use bulleted lists. So you can simply click on this section here under bullets, and you have the bulleted list. If you click on the drop down, you can select different types of bullets if you prefer. Or you can choose numbers, or if you wanted various lists, such as you have multiple layers for specific lists, you can utilize one of those options from the lists option. Now, as far as formatting the text here, once you select it, you can have this centered by using those buttons right here, or indented to the right, or typically, as it is the standard, to the left. Now, for any of this text, once you select it, you can also change the spacing. So let's say I wanted this double spaced. One of the options here is to use line spacing and change it to double spaced from here. So for those that are college students and you need to do double spaced papers, you change it directly using this function right here. If you needed to undo a function, a specific function, you can either use the undo option from up here on the quick access toolbar, or you could press Ctrl Z on the keyboard and that will undo the last function that you performed. Now at this point, let's assume this is our whole document. Of course, stay tuned for the additional modules for this tutorial on the enhanced editing and formatting and creating a report and things of that nature that we'll cover shortly in the tutorial. But for now, let's assume that we are done with this document and we want to save it. You can press Save up here on the Quick Access toolbar, or you can click on File and choose Save. Now at this stage, we are prompted to save this, and by default it will ask us to save it, or it will try to get us to save it on OneDrive. So if we go back and press Save here, notice it's trying to save it to OneDrive. But you can either click File, Save, and choose this PC, and then save it wherever you want to save it in this PC. For example, in My Documents, where I can go here under Browse, and then go and browse for my documents under Documents here, and say using Office 365, and then give it a name. Now saving it on OneDrive, it's advantageous because in case something happens to your computer, you can recover this file by simply accessing the file on OneDrive. So that's how you save the document on your computer, how you create a document, and how you save it on your computer. I recommend that you save your document unless you have the autosave enabled automatically, that you save your document every 2 to 3 minutes by simply pressing Ctrl S on your keyboard. Now, before I finalize this segment, one other thing, if you go here, instead of you creating a document from scratch all the time, you can also go here under File and New, and that will bring you to a similar screen like what we had seen earlier, and use one of the templates. So let's say I wanted to create a brochure. By the way, notice there are all kinds of templates here automatically. Let's say I wanted a brochure. You simply search for it and simply go and download one that you prefer from online. Double click on it, press Create, and then Word will download this, and now here you can simply modify key components of this brochure, add and change various headings and so on, but you basically have the complete layout of the document, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on the design. You can simply use a template that already exists in the computer. You can do this for resumes, reports, or brochures, or all kinds of other stuff. So this is a quick tip on before you're proceeding with the other functions of Word in this tutorial. and I hope that you'll find it helpful. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the Dictate option in Microsoft Word. So as you're creating a document, instead of typing it, if you're a slow typer and that type of thing, you basically can go anywhere in the document, and as long as you have a microphone in your computer, you can come here under the Dictate area, and you can click on the drop down and choose the language that you prefer to do the dictation with. Once you're ready, you are going to need to click here on Dictate, and then everything that you say, the system is going to transcribe it for you. So in my case here, I'm going to simply, let's say I want to type right here, and I'm going to actually start reading this paragraph in a moment. So let's say I want to type in here, and I click here on Dictate, and at this point, everything that you say, it's going to be transcribed, period. New paragraph. Notice that you can also give commands to the system, period. New paragraph. As computers become better understood and more economical, comma, every day brings new applications, period. Many of these new applications involve both storing information and simultaneous use by several individuals, period. When you're ready to stop this, you press stop, the button, and then the document has been transcribed, or the content that we wanted has been transcribed. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we're going to learn how to format a document, how to use some of the basic features of Word and apply the formatting, the tools in Word for formatting a document. So instead of us creating a brand new document here, for the sake of time, I have an existing document. We can click here on File and then navigate to the document and simply click on it, or you can click on Open and then go and browse for the document, locate it wherever it is on your computer. Now, or if you can go to the actual folder wherever your files are and simply double click on that document and open it up. And then click on the document and then open it up. Now in this document, it's just a generic one. I am giving credit to the website that I copied it from. I modified a couple of things in it, but basically this is not really my typing here. So we have this long document. Now, a couple of things. We're going to learn how to change the formatting on it. Let's assume that we typed what we needed to type. Now we want to learn about some of the formatting capabilities. So in this case, first, to select a section here, we can double click on that heading and it will select the whole section. Or we could simply drag it from beginning to end, or from end to beginning, hold down the mouse, and you'll be able to select that particular section. You can do the double clicking also for paragraphs. It will select the whole paragraphs. If you go outside of the document and you triple click, that will select the whole document. Now for this document, let's suppose I wanted to change the font on this document. I select the whole thing. I can either hold down the mouse in the beginning here and drag it down like this, or triple click outside of it and select the whole thing. Now at this point, I want to change the font to Calibri, and simply I clicked here on the drop down, chose Calibri, and it applied the font. Now under the size here, I could change the size as well directly from here. If I wanted to increase the font size, I can use this icon over here. To change the font type, italics, or apply additional properties, you simply select any of these options in here. If you want to get very granular about the font functionality and that type of thing, you can click on this down arrow here next to each group of icons, and it will give you additional functions for those settings for the font. So if I click here on this expansion arrow, this is where I can make additional modifications. The other thing to learn here as a concept is that if you always want any new documents to start with a particular font or a particular font size, you can come to this screen, adjust the properties, and then set this as the default. That's how you set the default font for all documents in Microsoft Word. Then you click on OK, and it will apply those changes. Obviously, in this case, I didn't make any changes here. So let's say I wanted to make a change to this, and it's basically done. Now, one of the observations for you here is that once you select a bunch of text, whatever that may be, notice that this quick toolbar will show up right above the text that you selected. This is just a bunch of the tools, commonly used tools, so that instead of you having to reach out all the way here to the ribbon and the various functions, this is quicker for you to access and apply a specific property from here. Now, let's say that I selected this text and I applied various properties to this text, to this heading, and now I need to apply it to another section here. Let's say I need to apply it right here. Instead of me having to go and change the properties and apply red and so on, and apply whatever 5 different properties that I'm changing, I could actually copy the properties of the formatting from here, apply it to a different section of the document. And that is referred to as the format painter. So this is, we're copying the formatting of a specific section and applying it to a different part of the document. And the way that works is that we make the modifications in one spot. We go here under the format painter. And notice it doesn't seem like much happened except for the icon that changed, like this paintbrush. Now we go to the other section of the document, select it, and let the mouse go, and it will apply the same properties of that item that we selected earlier. So that's how you apply the Format Painter tool in Microsoft Word. Now, as far as copying and pasting, of course, you can copy here a segment of it, and you can click on copy over here on the top left, or press Ctrl-C, go to another section of your document, and then press Ctrl-V, or press paste. Notice here under the paste option, you can do, to keep the source formatting, you can merge the formatting. That means it's going to apply it with what your document has, or it's going to paste it as a picture, or it's going to paste it as a text, only removing any formatting. Typically, you want to merge the formatting, or typically you simply want to press here paste. You use those other functions in particular advanced features that I might cover later in this tutorial. So now that we pasted it, it's right here. So that's the Format Painter, copying and pasting, changing the font, and so on in the document. Now, one other thing for before we proceed here, sometimes when you're doing fancy formatting of your document, you might need to see where the extra spaces are, or what's behind the scenes that are hidden, or areas that are hidden, or extra spaces in the document, and so on. One way to identify those hidden characters or hidden areas is to click on this little paragraph mark here. So it says show paragraph marks and other hidden formatting symbols. You click on it and it will display all the hidden, like the spaces are represented with a dot here. And if there is more than one space, notice there are 2 dots here, so you could remove that other one. And then notice here, right before the paragraph mark, there is another dot or an extra space in there, and this means that there is a return key or a paragraph mark in there. So that's using the hidden codes or symbols in a document. When you're done with it and you don't want to see this anymore, you can simply press it again to remove those hidden characters or to not reveal those hidden characters. Now, other things that you can do here before we move into more advanced features, you can also apply one of those styles. So styles are pre-formatted text, basically. So you have, and we'll get into this in the next session in more detail. But basically for now, you can just go in here. You want to apply heading 1. It has this pre-formatted style. It's in blue, it's all caps and so on, and it's centered as well. If you choose to have a different one, you simply click on it and it will apply it as needed. Now notice as I'm simply navigating or browsing through those various styles here, notice that this is referred to as the live preview in Microsoft Word. So it's basically giving us a preview of what it will look like before it will apply that specific style to this text. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the Format Painter. Basically, you can format a bunch of text a certain way to look a certain way, and then you can copy the formatting and paste it to another section of text. It's very similar to copy and paste, but the difference is that it's going to copy and paste the formatting properties. So let's assume that we have a bunch of text here, and we have this blue color, and it's underlined and all that type of stuff, and I'm going to change the font as well to a different font here. Now let's say that I wanted to apply that somewhere else in the document. You go to the area which has that specific formatting. You select it, and then you click on Format Painter. It's going to seem like nothing happened. Now notice it has this broom type of thing. You select where you want to apply it, and notice I'm leaving out a couple words in the end here, and then you let the mouse go. As soon as that happens, notice it copied all the properties from the first area here to the other section where we applied the format painting. So it's just as easy as that. In this brief video, I'm going to explain how to change the default font for any documents in Microsoft Word. This is so that whenever you open a new document or create a new document, the font will be a different font that you specify and also a different size as well. So here's how it's done. Basically, you go into Microsoft Word here, into a document or open Word, and then basically go under this area right here where it says font, and then click on this little icon. Now change the font to whatever you want. So for example, we want it here Arial, and let's say size 12. And then all you have to do is you click on Set as Default. Click OK, and then you want to change it to all documents based on the normal template. Click OK. And now, anytime I open a new document and create a new document, it's going to be using that specific font. So notice now it's Arial 12. If I opened Microsoft Word again from scratch and changed it and such, it's going to always be Arial 12. Now if I want to change it to something else, of course, or to change it back, you need to go back here to under the font area and then choose the font that you want. Change the size as well, other properties if you wanted to, and then choose Set as Default, and then click on the same settings again. Click OK, and that's how it's done. So now if I go to create a new document here, notice the font, it's going to be Calibri size 11. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we're going to learn how to use search and replace in a document in Word. So let's say we have this document, and let's say we want to replace all the protection words with the word security. Of course, one of the ways is to simply locate them and type them, but that could take quite a bit of time, plus we could miss some of the instances of this. So one of the options is here to click on Find, and we can, let's say, search here. Notice it says protection. We just search the word protection, and it gives us all the instances where this word is used. So it's used 57 times. We can click, and it will take us to that specific area in the document. So this is just finding the words. But let's say now we want to replace those words. So we go to the top of the document, and then we click here on Replace. Now we're going to search. So instead of finding, we are just simply going to go to Replace. We're going to find the word protection, and we're going to replace it with the word security. Then we click here. We can leave all these other options blank, and at this point we can either choose Find Next, and it will show us the next word, the next place that this word appears at. And then we can either choose Replace or Replace All if you want to replace all instances of it in one shot. Now, one thing to keep in mind here as well is that you can replace words with other words, or if you click here on More, you can also match the case and replace them on specific case, how it's spelled. Or you could use wildcards, or you could even replace the formatting, so you can select something that is formatted a certain way. It'll find it based on that formatting and replace it as well based on that specific formatting. You can also search for specific characters or digits or any type of characters or paragraph marks. So let's say I want to search for anywhere where there are 2 paragraph marks and replace it with only 1 paragraph mark. Then we press Next, and it's going to locate. So notice it found one right here. I can choose to replace it, and so on. So I had, in this case, I had only a couple spots here, or I can choose to replace all of them. So that's how you replace or clean up a document using search and replace. And then you press Close. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use formatting styles in a document in Microsoft Word, and then from these styles, how to create a table of contents. So formatting styles typically save you time. They're designed as a tool to save you time, particularly in formatting long documents. So it saves you time, and also it provides consistency throughout the document for you. So the styles, you can access them from here. Notice you have the title style, and you have the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4 styles, and other ones as well. Plus you can create new styles if you want it as well, or clear the formatting for specific styles in a document. So in this case, let's say this is the title of my document. At this point, I can go here under the title, and that has been applied by simply tapping on title here. Now, if I prefer to modify the title, typically it's best to modify either the style itself by clicking Edit, Modify here, and then change this to be, let's say, bold and make it 14 and things of that nature, like whatever you prefer for this style, basically. And then click OK. Or you could change the style by formatting things the way you want over here. So I'm cleaning this up a little bit. Let's say I want it this way. Once you have the style applied or changed how you want it, you can go back here under that style and choose to update it to match the selection. So you're updating the title style here so that in the future when you apply it, it will always be that type of formatting. So if I typically don't want to apply the title style elsewhere in the document, but let's say I wanted to, click on it, and now it has been modified to those types of properties. So let's say that I want to format now this heading. So this would be heading number 1. This is level 1 of my document content. While you can create your own personal styles, I suggest that you modify the style how you prefer. Let's say heading 1 here. I click on it, and let's say I didn't like it the way it looks right now. Change this to whatever you want it to look like. Let's say I want it bold, and I want it to be indented all the way to the left here. And I want this style to be Calibri. And let's say for the sake of emphasis, I want it red. So I'm modifying, I initially applied the heading 1 style. Now I'm modifying it. Now I'm updating this style to how I changed it, how I like it. And then I go elsewhere in the document. Notice this is size 16, and this one I want to apply it right here. This is size 11. It's similar, but it's not the same. I click here on heading 1, and notice it's applying it just right away. The next one, let's say this should be a heading 1 as well. Click on it, it's applied. Let's say this needs to be heading 1, and so on throughout the document. Now you can do the same thing for the other headings as well. So you go here, let's say this you want it to be heading 2. So in the table of contents, you'll have the title, then you'll have the first level heading, which would be considerations, the study of security. Then you have general observations right below that as another heading. You can choose here heading number 2. You can choose here heading number 2. And again, you can modify this style to what you want. Let's say I want this to be size 14, bold. And once I have applied it once, I want to update heading number 2 style so I can reapply it to other areas of the document. You can right-click, choose Update it to the selection, and then I go elsewhere in the document here and choose heading number 2. Notice it saves you time and it provides consistency throughout the document for you when you apply it. Obviously, this has to do also with layout of the document, so you don't want to just select those levels randomly, but you want to apply it depending on how the document has been organized. So now, if I go to the top And let's say I want to apply heading number 3 to another area of my document. Let's say I have here this heading number 3. Now, if for some reason you don't see heading number 3 or heading number 4 in the document, that means that you have to apply it first, the previous heading. So let's say you can't apply heading number 4 unless you have something with a heading number 3. So now I have here heading number 3. I want to change the formatting as well to this. Make it, let's say, 12, size 12, update it, and then apply this same heading to other areas in my document. Now that I have applied the headings, notice it saved me time, it provided consistency. The application of these headings can help us in creating a table of contents. So the table of contents, typically it's at the beginning of the document. So for the sake of time and typically you'd have a blank page in the beginning and so on. But for now, I'm just going to insert the table of contents right here. Now the table of contents, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but yet since we are learning about the application of styles in the document, it's helpful to kind of tie those two together with the table of contents. And it's best to learn that now. So here we want to insert the table of contents. Table of contents, it's a reference tool that we want to insert. So you click here on references, you click on table of contents, or you could have typed up here under search, and it'll go to table of contents. That's the other way to do this as well. Under table of contents, you have various options here that you can utilize, or different templates, basically. So here you can pick whichever you want. I'm going to take this first one, automatic. And now the table of contents will be created automatically. Notice I have level A, considerations about security. Then the general observations. Notice it's level 2 right below it. It has put the page numbers automatically, and so on. Now, if for some reason you go and change one of those levels here, or apply a different, let's say in here I change this to apply level heading number 2, or let's make it 1 for easier identification. Once you make changes, whether to the page numbers or to the application of those headings, you can update the table of contents by going here to the table of contents, click once on it, and then choose Update Table. And then you choose to update the entire table. And then you'll notice that we'll have a new heading 1 here in a moment. Notice this just changed, and it was just updated. So that's how you apply styles to a document and how you create the table of contents for a document in Microsoft Word. As you're learning about the table of contents and these tools and the styles, one thing to understand at this stage is also that you can define styles a certain way to your liking with various properties, and you can create your personal style of formatting as well. So you click here on the drop down and choose New Style. Give it a name, click OK, and now I have the Sally style here. If I go somewhere else in the document, I can go and apply this particular style. The thing of the word of caution here is that you can't apply these personal styles that you created you can't apply them very easily to the table of contents. So therefore, I strongly recommend that you utilize one of the heading styles. Then you modify that one, particularly if you're planning to create a table of contents. If you're not planning to create a table of contents, then you can create any of those personal styles. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we are going to learn about using the Editor tool in Microsoft Word from Office 365. This is a new tool in recent editions of Word. So let's say we have this document or report, we have made changes to it, we have applied some formatting to it and things of that nature. And now we want to check it for certain functionality and grammar and other options. Now remember, some of this grammar and is also covered on the review area, and I'll try to cover those later. But since we are early on in the Home tab here, we are presented also with this tool for the editor. If you click on Editor, it's going to check for spelling in the document, and it's going to identify the grammar areas and also various refinements such as for clarity, for conciseness, formality, punctuation, and things of that nature. Now you'll notice here that certain things are with a check mark. That's because this was a document that I retrieved, so it was a published document basically. A research document, it was published, so therefore those issues are fixed. Now here under spelling, if you click on the spelling area, it's basically saying there's no reference for this first one. Let's go to the next one. Again, there's no reference here as well, and no reference. So there are no spelling errors, it's just bringing things that are not normal. Notice that you may want to fix here called space virtual, or so you may make changes in there. The other thing is, so you can ignore those or ignore them all the time and then move to the next thing. Then you return back to the editor here, and then we are going to check it for grammar. You click on grammar. Notice thus the programs of this it's recommending or it's suggesting to use thus comma, so put a comma in there. And basically you are making those changes and applying them directly by simply pushing those suggestions or acknowledging those suggestions here. Then you come back to the editor, and then you go under the punctuation conventions or clarity, and you make those changes as well. And once you deal with these suggestions, then you can close the editor, and basically you have applied some of the tools, the editing tools. So it's kind of Word here is acting as your personal editor or professional editor to your document. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we're going to learn how to insert images and how to manipulate those images in a document in Word. So we basically go wherever we need to insert an image in the document. We assume now that we have this report and we want to enhance it. So we have gone through these common tools here in the Home tab, and now we want to make enhancements to it by inserting various components to this document. So let's say we want to insert, in this case, images to this document. So we go here under Pictures. After we click on Insert, we choose Pictures, and then you can choose a picture from this device, which means your computer. You have to locate the picture, or stock images online or from the office, or online pictures where basically you have to be connected to the internet to download those pictures. So first we're going to apply an image from this PC. So we go here, we go under either pictures or go under documents, wherever you have your picture. And let's say I want to use Office 365. Notice you can resize this image by using one of those handles on the corners. Notice there is also a place here for alternate text. So you can type. This is for screen readers and for accessibility purposes. Now that you click on it, notice you have these tools that show up after we inserted the picture. We have these tools. Those are called contextual tools. It's tools that show up in the context of what you're doing with a particular item from your document. So if you're working on a table, it'll give you the table tools or the contextual tools for tables. If you're using images, these are the contextual tools for pictures. If you're using SmartArt, you'll get the SmartArt contextual tools and so on. Now here you can apply some of those themes. These are very similar to the styles for formatting documents that we learned earlier. You're applying particular themes or styles for formatting a picture. Notice here it's adding the gray edges on the bottom and the right hand side, or this is formatting, it's slightly different and so on. Notice there's a drop down here. You can modify this however you please, and you can apply borders. You can also apply shadows and reflections and 3D and all that type of stuff if necessary, if you prefer, with a simple click. I'm going to undo that. Now, the other thing for you to understand here is that you can select here also the position for this tool. So you have the alternate text that we just entered earlier. You can choose to change that from here, but also you can go under position and pick a different position where this should show up in your page. So you could have it in the middle of the page, the right-hand side, bottom, and so on. So let's say I want it on the right-hand side automatically. Notice it's changing it with a text. Also the positioning, so that's the positioning there, but then also the text wrapping. This is where you can specify how you want the text to wrap tightly through it, over it, and so on. So I'll suggest that you play with this, but it's one of the functions that's commonly used with an object that you insert in your document. The other concept that I wanted you to understand at this stage is also how to crop this picture. So once I have it, of course, we learned earlier how to resize it from these handles. Of course, you can also choose to spin it from this handle here on the top and change the layout of it, or spin it around. Now notice that under the wrapping of the text, we can actually change it so the text can come against it. So if we choose tight, notice we can make the text tightly fit around this image. Now, from here, if we wanted to crop this, just simply double-click on it. You go under the crop tool here, and then you move these handles. You can crop it from one of the handles in the bottom. Let's say I want to bring this up like that, and then this down. Or you could use the corner ones like that as well. And then once you're done with the cropping, you press crop again, and that will apply those cropping properties. Now, once you crop it, notice this doesn't look too great. You could go and apply a different theme to it, or a different style, and then adjust it slightly. And maybe even change the positioning of it and so on. So basically, that's how it works for any objects that you insert, whether from the web or from your computer, or any of those objects that you'll insert from here, and how you modify those objects. Remember also one other thing under the image here, you can change and remove the background if you want it. You can change the color. You can add artistic effects and things of that nature by applying these tools here in the color area. Now, inserting images from other locations. So if we click here on Insert, we go under Pictures and then Stock Images. This is going to connect online and it's going to give us stock images, I guess, from Microsoft in this case. At this point, you'll select the image that you would prefer to utilize in your document or in your report, press Insert, and then further modify it using the tools that I explained just a moment ago. And then under Insert here, Pictures from Online, of course you have to be connected to the internet here, and then you choose, this is searching online, like using Bing. Simply type what you want to search for, click on the image that you prefer, insert it, and then modify it. Notice here it's also giving us where it was taken, this image from, where it was downloaded from, and things of that nature to give credit to it. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we're going to learn how to insert icons in a document in Word. So we have a document similar to this, and now we want to enhance this further. We have inserted pictures in the document, we have inserted a table of contents and things of that nature. And now we want to go in and insert or learn how to use some of those additional tools, such as inserting icons in this document. So you can go, let's say, to a specific area of your document and then click here on Insert tab and then choose Icons. This is a new function in the later versions of Word for Office 365. We click here on Icons, and basically you can pick the category of icons. So these are kind of black and white, but they are designed so that you can have consistency throughout your document. So let's say I want this. You can search for keywords as well, or notice you have illustrations here, you have stickers that you can utilize, you can have specific icons and things of that nature. So under Technology, let's say I want to use this icon in my document. You click on it, click on Insert, and it has been inserted at this point, but let's say I want to put it right in front of Complete Mediation. Bring that down, resize it. So that's one way I can have this to kind of make it slightly fancier. The other thing that I can do is go here under Icons again, and then for the next heading, I could have some other icon related to technology. And you basically are resizing it. Of course, the icon has to match the concept that you're trying to demonstrate, but it makes it a little bit more visually appealing when you utilize one of those icons to represent or to present the content to your viewer or your audience. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert 3D models in a document in Word. So we have here a Word document, and for the sake of demonstration of the functionality of Word, we're going to learn how to add 3D models. So we are in Word, we have the document, we go here under the Insert tab, and then we go under 3D models. Here you can search for a keyword, or you can use one of those categories, or simply click on any of those items in here. So let's say I want this all animated. And then at this point, just simply pick any of the animations or any of the objects here. Click on Insert. And very similar to a document, you can kind of spin this, adjust how it will display to the viewer by using those controls. This is a new functionality. Obviously, you want to use this intentionally to make a point, and you don't want to overuse this to annoy the users. Remember, the same functionality applies to this. So if you go here under and double click, you have the various views that you can apply to it. You also have the text wrapping functionality, the concept that we learned earlier. So you can have this so it wraps tightly against the text. And you could pan and zoom and align it and all kinds of other tools. So keep in mind here to utilize these contextual tools that show up for this object within Word. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we're going to learn how to insert and use shapes in a document in Word. Now, this function is not used as much, but at least for the sake of functionality of the product here, it will be worth covering. So we go here at any place on the document, then we click on the Insert tab, and then we go under Shapes. Now you can select any of those shapes. Of course, this is just to make a case. They have to be used purposefully for your document. And in this case, let's say I wanted to use one of those shapes. Now, one thing, unlike inserting a picture where the picture will be inserted automatically, or icons and other components in the document, here we have to draw how big or where we want this object to be inserted and how large. So we select it, and now at this stage, notice that contextual tools show up. So it's tools related to the shape component. Now here we can apply various styles for this. We can apply various animations. And we can apply here the text wrapping to make it tight, and other components, and edit this. If you don't like this, you can change the shape from here using this tool, and it'll change it to something else, and so on. Now, one thing to keep in mind as you're working with the shapes, and this is just for the sake of learning about another thing here, is that if you go under Insert, you can actually, on top of this, you could insert a text box. So you could actually type stuff on top of this object. And you do that by clicking on Insert, choosing Text Box. And we are going to draw a text box directly as part of this. You can format this how you prefer. And then you can even change the background under the shape fill here to make it to no fill. And then you can make the text color, make it white, and in that way it fits the text a little bit better. So in this case, we are learning about two concepts. One, inserting the shape and adjusting it in the document. The other one was inserting a text box that we embedded on top of the shape. Now, sometimes in order to move these are two separate objects, and this is another concept. You can actually click on the text box, hold down the Control key, click again on the larger one, the outside one, and if you right-click, you can actually group those together. It moves as one object rather than two. And that's how you work with shapes and how you modify them. In this segment, we're going to learn how to insert a table in a document and how to modify that table in a document in Microsoft Word. So we go here to any place in the document and we go under the Insert tab and then choose Table. If you click on the drop down here, you notice that you can draw a table, pick how many columns and rows you want, or you can draw it from here, or use an Excel spreadsheet, or use quick tables, very similar to this for calendars or things of that nature. In our case, we are simply going to select how many columns and rows we want. So let's say I want 3 columns and 2 rows. Notice as soon as I select it, it's entered in the document. Now I can resize those columns as needed. And also notice on the top, we have the table design tools. If that gives us the various styles related to tables and tools related to tables. Notice also that next to table design tools is also the layout tab that gives us another set of tools related to working with tables. Now, if those tools for some reason do not show up for you, you may need to click out, click somewhere else in the document, and then click back on the tools or double click on your table, and then you should be able to see those table tools on the top. So next, you typically enter the information in each cell. Now, in the cases where you need to add additional columns or rows to your table, you can simply right-click and choose Insert, and then choose Insert Rows Below. And this is how you add additional rows. Now, for these table tools, as you can see here, notice that you have options also such as the total row. So you can click on total row here, and if I add another cell or another row below, now at this stage, if I go here under the layout tab and go under formula, I could add a formula to give me the sum of all the cells above this. And I click OK. All I have to do is click OK, and it'll give me the total for those numbers. Now at this stage, let's suppose that we want to make this table look better or more professional. We go under the Table Design Tools and then pick one of the designs from here. If you click on the down arrow under the Table Styles, we can select from one of the styles here. To add and make additional modifications, I would suggest that you check out these other options, and notice that also you have these tools for adding rows and columns below. Also, another key concept to remember here is and sometimes it gets tricky, is how the text is going to be indented in that specific cell. So right now, notice for a firewall device, it's at the top of the cell. Let's say we wanted that centered. You go here under the Layout tool and you choose from one of those the Alignment area. This is where you can define for that to be centered, or if you want it to right side or left side, but yet centered, that's where you change this Obviously, you can change also the text direction and additional components here, as you can see as well. In this segment, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert hyperlinks in a document in Microsoft Word. So let's suppose that there's a need from time to time where you need to link to different supporting documents or external websites or a video somewhere from your Word document. So to hyperlink, you simply select the words that you want within your document, and then you go under the Insert tab, and then you go under the Link option. From here, you could link to a document in your computer, or you could link to an address or something on the web. So here, for example, I'll link to my YouTube channel. And then you press OK. Now at this point, this has been hyperlinked, and the user, if they hold the Control key and click on it, it will take you to that specific hyperlink on the web. Now you can also link to a document in your computer. And if you select the words that you want in your document, then you click on the Insert tab, and then you choose Link, and then you go and select that specific document. Then click on OK. Now at this point, it will be clickable. So you hold down the Control key, and this is linking to a document on the computer. This is a PDF. And it'll launch the PDF file. Now, obviously, the document that you're referencing has to be in the same computer when you're presenting this. So be careful when you're sharing the document with somebody else that they will have access to it. It's best to share it, upload the document somewhere on the web, and then link it that way directly from the website. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to insert a signature in a document in Word. So we go here under the Home tab, and then we click on Insert, and then go under Signature Line. Click on it. Now the first time you run it, you may be prompted to enable the Microsoft Signature tools and just proceed with anything positive for it. That's because at one point in the past, I had clicked to enable it. Now here, you simply put in the information that you want, the email address if necessary, and so on. And then you can allow also the signer to add comments in the dialog box as well. So typically, you might want to fill out these, and then you click OK. Then it'll add a signature line very similar to this. At this point, the person signing the signature or signing this document will be needing to double-click on it and then type their name. And then they can also include comments in here, so they can they created this document, approved this document, whatever the type is of commitment. Then you can have additional comments added in here, and then click on Sign. It will prompt you whether to use the certificate. And there you go. So it puts some additional properties behind the scenes, and it kind of connects with Microsoft Digital ID services to make this supposedly legit. It also collects additional information as to the time and date and so on from the user. So it's kind of half official, I would say, when it comes to this. But it's a tool that for internal use could be utilized by organizations or users out there to collect somebody's signature or approval on a specific document or a process. In this next session, I'm going to talk about inserting or using the screenshot feature in Microsoft Word. So let's assume we have this document here, and now we want to insert a snapshot, whether we are doing documentation on how to do something or whatever the case may be. So what you do is you go under the Insert tab, you click on Screenshot here, and notice you can either clip the screen or you can pick from one of the available windows. So in my case, I'm going to do a screen clipping first, so I click on Screen Clipping. And now at this point, I could pick part of my screen, and now that has been inserted in my document. Now this, you could use it for creating a manual or creating directions or whatever it may be within your document. This is basically just like another image that I inserted in the document. I can go here and customize this and make it look differently and so on, and apply the various different styles related to the images in the document. The other thing you can do is if you go here under the Insert, under Screenshot, so you have to have something opened in your computer, and then you can take a screenshot of an application that you may have opened in your computer. And then, of course, resize this however you need to. Another cool feature in Word 2016 is the ability to insert media such as video from online. So to insert video from online, you click on Insert here, you go to Online Video, and then you can search for videos, whether it's from Bing or from YouTube and so on. So if you go here, you're searching for a specific video, you click on it, and then click on Insert, and there is the video from YouTube. Now at this point, of course, you could customize this if you needed to and format it differently, just like an image in your document, including the positioning of it in the document. In this next session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a text box in a document. And let's say we want to insert a text box. So you go under the Insert tab, and then you go under Text Box. Now here you have different types of designs that you could pick from. So let's say I like this kind of design here. Notice it has a cool design there. All you have to do is just put some text here. And there you have your text box. If you wanted to change it or make adjustments to it, again, remember the concept is that you can double click on it and click on the various tools related to this particular object, and of course using options within this. Remember, you can always resize it and move it wherever you need to move it. In this very brief session, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert a caption for a specific object in a document in Microsoft Word 2016. So suppose you have all these images or charts or objects within your document and you want to reference them through your document. So what you do is you click on the object here, you go under References, and then click on Insert Caption. And then you just choose Figure 1 or whatever the label that you want, and let's say you want it below the item. Just click OK, and now notice it says Figure 1. Now you come to the next thing here, and you do the same. That says Figure 2. You could also type it right here, and simply click OK. And you can further customize it if you need it. So that's basically how you insert captions for various objects within your document in Microsoft Word. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to create columns and basically format your document to use columns. The way it works is that you can go to here, the Layout tab, and then you go under Columns. And if you wanted just columns throughout your document, let's say 2 columns or whatever you need, you simply click on 2, and then it's going to apply it throughout that section in your document. If you don't want that, and I'm going to undo this part here, you can simply go to a specific section, select it, and then click on Columns, and then click on More Columns, or you can just choose 2 for that here. If you wanted just 2. Notice once we selected it, it applied it to just that specific section. The other thing you can do is you can go under Columns, More Columns, and this is where you can customize it even further. Let's say you want a line in between, and you can how many columns you want and that type of thing, and then also where it applies, whether it applies to the whole document or to the selected section or to the whole document. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use citations and bibliography and managing sources for references in a document. This is a very powerful tool, and I strongly suggest that if you're a student anywhere, take advantage of this. This tool allows you to insert sources of information for a book or article or other material, where it came from, and then as you're utilizing it for multiple papers, it also builds a repository of the source resource manager stuff within your master list here. Let's say this is something that we are citing. So let's assume we copied this and now we want to cite it. You first have to determine what your style of writing is, whether it's APA or MLA. So I'm going to pick at this point APA. Basically, you just have to do this once for all your papers or for that course or whatever you're for that document. And then you click here on Insert Citation. You could insert an existing one or you add a new source. So in this case, let's say it's a book. And the author here, you could click on Edit, or you can simply type it here. You enter the title of the author, and then you put the year when it was published, the city, and then the publisher as well. You could also insert here additional fields if you needed to, as to what volume it is, the number of volumes, the title, pages, and so on. Then you click OK. Notice for the APA style, this is how you would cite this source. Last name, comma, 2016. Now we go to another part of the document, and let's assume that this was another section that we want to cite. We put in parentheses, and now we go here under citation, and then add a new source. Notice that under the new source, you can pick other things as well. So for example, you could pick a journal article, you could pick a periodical, a conference, or a report, a website, a recording, and so on. All of these are the small technicalities that are complicated to remember, but this is a tool that makes it easy for you how to cite it. So for example, an article from a website, you could simply click to a document from a website, and you put in the author. Notice you also have examples here. So in this case, we are going from to the web. So we go here to the website, and let's say this is the article, Can Laws Keep Up with the Tech World? And it was written and published on such and such a date. So now the author, in this case, it would be Bruce Schneier. And then we go to our document, and then we'll just put the author in there. The name of the web page is the title of the article. The name of the website, so this would be, for example, CNN.com. The year, 2015. So actually we want to put the year in there, the date that it was published. So notice it was updated on November 21st, 2015. So we put here year 2015, the month, December, and then the day 21. And then you also need to put in there the URL for this article. So we copy it, and then we'll paste it in there. And then we simply click OK. And it's good to go at this stage. Now, let's say that somewhere else, now notice I'm going up in my document here. Let's say that this is my other section that I want to cite. And now, let's assume that I'm simply citing this for now. I can go ahead and click here on Insert Citation, and I could even pick an existing citation. Now, notice here under Manage Sources, I used 2 of them in this document, those that have the check marks. Those are new ones that I just entered. But basically, this is a list of other sources that I have done other research, for example, this first one. Now, what I could do is I could utilize this in my document here, in my paper. So all I have to do is I go here under Insert Citation and pick that source to be included. Now, let's suppose that I'm done with all my citations for this paper, and now I want to insert the bibliography or the works cited. Go here to my document and insert a new page. I go and insert, let's say, a page break or whatever. Basically, I'll just do a page break for now. And now on the next page, I want to insert the bibliography. I go under References, and then I click on Bibliography. And notice it gives you multiple options here. You have Bibliography, References, and Works Cited. That will depend on the type of research that you are doing and what your paper or professor requires. So for example, if I wanted bibliography here, here's my bibliography. And it has the word bibliography. By the way, it's putting everything also alphabetically, automatically, and it's formatting and italicizing and doing all that redundant work automatically for you. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we're going to learn how to insert a cover page in a document. So here we have a document that we have manipulated and added a bunch of stuff to it. We have inserted various components on it, and now we want to change under the Insert area. We want to insert what's called a cover page. You can click here on the Insert tab, click on Cover Page, and then choose from one of those templates that will display automatically here. Note that there are additional templates that you can download from office.com and embed them in the document as well. So I'll click here, and let's say I'll pick this one. And then you give it a document title. Fix the font how you want it. Add additional properties if necessary. Or delete areas or components that you may not want. Notice that it's smart enough to insert the cover page at the top of the document for you automatically. Now from here you could add a different image if you'd prefer and change this and modify this as needed. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to insert a page break in a document. So let's say we have this document and we want this to always start on a new page. So this heading to be always on a new page. So we go here under the Insert tab and we choose to add a page break. So we basically click right in front of that heading and then go under Insert, we choose Page Break, and from now on, no matter what you type or how you type this, so let's say I copied a bunch of text here and I keep on adding to it, and notice pretty soon it's going to jump into a new page. Notice that even though it's only one line or two lines here on the next page, notice this got pushed down to a brand new page. So that's the purpose of a page break in a document, is that you specify a particular heading or a particular area of your document to always be on a new page. Now, for most users, the difficulty is, how do I remove that page break? To remove it, you need to go under the Home tab here, and then click on this icon for the paragraph to show and reveal the hidden symbols. Then you scroll down and notice that at the end of the page where it ended from the previous section, notice there is this page break area. So you want to select it and then press delete on your keyboard, and then it will bring everything up. Then you can unhide those hidden characters and you're all set. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to use SmartArt in a document in Word. SmartArt is used to quickly and easily make a visual representation of your information. So basically, we go here to our document, and let's say we want to outline the research paper writing process. So typically you can represent this in a document very similar to this, like selecting a topic, then identifying the research problem, then collecting the relevant data, then analyzing the data, then writing the research paper, and proofreading it as well. So this is one way that historically most have done it. So you simply list these topics or these areas, and that is basically how you're outlining it. However, you can take this same information and convert it into SmartArt. So unlike PowerPoint, where you can select the information and convert this into a SmartArt, unfortunately in Word you have to retype this stuff all over again. So we go here under Insert, we go under SmartArt, and then pick one of the processes from here. So let's say I'll pick this first one. Click OK. Now I have these options. Now it's asking me to type those processes. So in this case, I'll simply copy them and paste them in here. So I don't have to re-type it from scratch. And I'm clicking down here where the SmartArt area is. Obviously, you want to do this from the start rather than the way that I did, and I did that for demonstration purposes. Now that you can kind of see that the SmartArt, it's more visually appealing here. Now to take this one step further, you can double-click on the SmartArt that you just created, and notice that the SmartArt design tools show up. Now you can change the design if you prefer to something different. And notice you get the live preview. And once you select one of the designs that you prefer, now you can select also various color schemes as well. And furthermore, you can adjust the design of the SmartArt as needed. So basically, instead of you representing that topic by just a bunch of bullet points, you're now using a a SmartArt object to represent the same idea, but it's more visually pleasing. Now here, obviously, you can modify this further and adjust certain areas of your SmartArt image. Under the formatting, you can then adjust other stuff here related to it, including the text wrapping if necessary. In this segment of the Word 365 tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to use the design feature in Word. So we have this document, and the document we have a cover page, we have table of contents, we have images, tables, objects, and charts, and things of that nature, and SmartArt. Now, here, you can go and apply a design theme to the whole document so that objects and components within that document, they flow from a design point of view. So you go here under the Design tab, and then you can select from one of those document formatting styles if you prefer, or you can go under the Theme area and select from one of those themes. And notice it will give you a preview, a live preview of what the document is going to look like once that theme has been applied. Notice it changes the font style, it will change the color combination, and things of that nature. So pick one of the styles that you prefer, and then notice that the various objects that we have inserted throughout the document have been modified to apply the same color scheme across the whole document. Now those colors, you can further modify them if you prefer. So if I go here and change it to Office 2007 or a different color theme, that can apply again. So if you like the font, you like the additional properties, but don't like specific color schemes, you can modify it from here under the colors option, and also you can modify the fonts as necessary. So that's how you apply a theme throughout the whole document for your specific report. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert headers and footers in a document. So let's suppose we have this document. It's a pretty long document, 16 pages, and now we want to insert a footer. We go here under Insert, and then go under this section for header and footer. So under the drop-down for footer, we can select the type of footer that we want to insert, and notice there are different designs that you can apply to this document. So simply select one of those designs, click OK, and notice it gives you the type of footer that you selected automatically. Now in this case it's selected to page 2 out of 15. Now here you could format this text to be a different color if you prefer, and to make it larger or smaller and things of that nature. Now notice also, as you're dealing with headers and footers, now in our case we have a cover page, but if we didn't have a cover page, typically your first page, it will have the page number. In that case, you want to select that option for different on first page. That's what makes the page number not show up on that very first page if you had a cover page, or if it showed up. From here, you could add other field types under the footer, such as, for example, if we go down here, let's say to the left of this footer, I want to insert the file name. You can do that by going here under Inserting document information, and you could choose the author or the file name or the path, or you can even insert a field name and get more granular, such as the date created and table, all kinds of areas or data from this specific document. So I'll choose here file name, and that's my current file name. Of course, I want to make it smaller. I probably want to change the type of font. And notice that has been applied to the rest of the document. If I want to get out of the footer mode, just double-click anywhere in the text and that will bring you back and take you off the footer mode. If you want to go back into it, double-click on the footer and it will bring you the tools related to header or the footer. Now the process works the same way for the header. So if I go under the document here and choose Insert, then Header, and then pick one of those header types or header templates, and then I chose to have the document title here, you can adjust the formatting of this as needed and apply the same kind of tools and layout. You have three different tabs of contextual tools in this case, and the reason for that is because we are working with a table within our header area of the document. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we're going to learn how to insert a footnote in a document in Word. So let's say we have here this specific document, and in a particular area of the document we want to insert a footnote. All you have to do is you go under the References tab and then you click on Insert Footnote. So it will insert the footnote at that specific location within where you had clicked or placed the mouse. Once you press Insert Footnote, then you can type those explanatory notes for that document. Now, typically, if you move this paragraph to a new page, then it will move that footnote with it automatically as well. Now, that was the footnote. Now, in some other cases, you might need to insert what's called an endnote. The endnotes will be displayed at the very end of the document, just like its name states. So we click here on the specific area in the document, then we click on Insert Endnote, and then type in there the notes that you would prefer to insert in there. And that's all that there is to it. In this segment of the Word tutorial, we are going to learn how to change the margins and the layout of a document in Word. So we have this document that we have been working for a while here in the Word 2019 or Office 365 tutorial, and now we want to change the margins. By default, the margins are at 1 inch on all sides. So you access those properties by going here to the Layout tab. And then the first option is Margins, and notice it's 1 inch on the top, left, bottom, and right. If you prefer a specific, let's say narrow margins, 0.5 inches on all corners, all you have to do is press narrow and it will apply to the whole document with that single click. If you prefer custom margins, you scroll down to the bottom, you choose custom margins, and then that's where here is where you can change. Let's say on the top I want 0.7 inches and I want to apply it to the whole document. Then you press OK. Now, if you want all your documents to start a certain way, you can choose to set this as a default with those margins, and any new documents that you create in the future If you choose this set as default and you press OK to this, any new documents will start with those dimensions. Then you press OK, and those margins have been applied, or those settings have been applied. Now, under the custom margins area, notice also one other thing. You can apply specific margins also to a part of the document or to the whole document. So right now, since we did not select anything, we have the option for this document or this point forward. So let's say I want 1 inch on all sides here, or let's say on the top, I want 1 inch for this document from this point forward. I can select that option and click OK. And now from here and on, it would be 1 inch, but from the point prior to this, it would be whatever we had specified from earlier. If you select a page in a document and you go under custom margins, notice that you can apply specific properties to something. Now we have the option to the selected sections of the document. And then you press OK, and it will apply to that particular section of the document that you selected. Now, as far as the orientation, you can apply the orientation to the whole document or to a particular page of that document. And to change it, so here under orientation, we applied it to the whole document. So let's undo that, and I'm going to do Control Z. So now to apply a specific page, to change it to landscape for a particular area, let's say we had something that we wanted to present in a different way, you can go to that particular page and go under Margins, then Custom Margins, and then choose Landscape from this point forward. Then click on OK, and now the previous page, notice it's in Portrait, but this page and the content following it is in Landscape. Now let's say we don't want the subsequent pages to be in Landscape. You can go back to Margins, Custom Margins, Portrait from this point forward, and click OK, and that the rest of the document will be in Portrait. Now you could change it, but you'd have to apply sections to the document if you wanted to apply it to only a specific section, so you don't have to do this point forward from here, and then you'd have to go back to change it again from this point forward to Portrait from the next page. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to use a couple of the research tools built into Word. These come in handy particularly for students as they do research papers. So this is under the References tab. So let's say we have this document and we are in the References tab here, and then we click on the Search option. So basically, this tool is enabling us to use Bing, the Microsoft search engine, to research specific topics or items or tools over the web while writing our paper. So here we can specify that we want to select, we are interested in searching the web, not pictures and things of that nature. And let's say we want to research computer security. You simply type the words and you're basically doing the search directly from here without being bugged with other stuff there. And then this link it will open the web browser at this point, and you can perform or read the content and so on from your website. So that's one of the tools that you can utilize here. The other one is this tool called Researcher. So if you click here, it says you find sources, you research, you add sources to your document, and the sources are automatically cited and repeat. So you type your topic, and let's say you utilize the resource from this site. You can choose to open this in the browser so that you can read it. And this is the article. Now, let's suppose that you're using this in your paper. You go to your paper here, and you can choose to add this as a citation. So let's suppose that I cited certain things from this document here. Let's say this is part of what I cited from that particular document. Now you go in here, you choose add this source as a citation. Now notice up here I have chosen the APA style for my citations. If you're undergrad, typically you'd have the MLA citation standard. In this case, I'm choosing APA. You click on add this source as citation, and that's all that there is to it. We can click on to create a bibliography, and it'll add it at the bottom of the document with all the references and all that stuff without us having to know how to do this appropriately for this resource. And as you add additional resources in your document, so let's say we are over here, and now I go and use another article. Let's say I like this one. You choose here, add this as a citation, update the bibliography, and now the bibliography has been updated accordingly with the proper standards and that. So those are the researcher tool. The finder tool is something that you can utilize. The other thing that you can do while you're writing your paper or research paper and or a document of some sort or a report, instead of using let's say you want to find synonyms for that word, you can go to a word in order to find the proper meaning of it and so on. You can go to the word, right-click on it, and choose synonyms, and notice you're presented with a bunch of other options for your paper. As soon as you select it, it's going to replace it. So basically, this would be a great tool while you're writing your paper or a report to make sure that you're using the right word for the right context. In this segment of the Word tutorial for Office 365, I'll demonstrate how to insert comments in a document. So let's suppose that you're collaborating with others in your office or with your team, and somebody sent you this document, and now you want to make comments in this document. So one of the options is, as you're reading the document, you can select specific words or paragraphs for that matter. So then you can go under the review area here, the review tab, and you click on new comment. And then on the right hand side, this is where you can type your comment. So this is simply adding comments to a document. Now the other thing that you can do is you can actually enable track changes in this document. So you click on track changes, And at this point, if you prefer to delete certain areas, and then you simply type whatever needs to be changed, the system at this point will track all the things that you are changing. So you can choose to show the track changes. Notice by default it will be in red here on the left, and it will highlight by you clicking on to show the track changes. And you can add new sections as well. Now, the reviewer, on the other end, when they receive or they review these notes from you, they have an opportunity to go through each one of them, and they can accept those changes or reject those changes. So accept and move to the next, accept and move to the next, or they can accept all of them as well if they just previewed them first. Or they could reject and move to the next. And that's how you can collaborate among other users. Now, typically, those changes on the right here, it would have the name of the individual and the time when they edited that item. You can also reply to their comments or resolve those comments. This is kind of very similar to the Google Docs functionality. Now, notice as you're working on this, notice that there are a couple other options here. To view the document with all the markups, meaning all these notes and content and suggestions and modifications and that type of stuff, or you can view the original without any of these changes, or just a simple markup here and there without too many notes. Now, before you send the document to somebody else, you need to make sure that you clean all of those markups and approve them so that the comments do not get sent to the final reviewer or whoever is going to access this stuff. And in order to clean up the document of any personal information or any of these comments, you can do that by clicking here on File, and you go under Info for the file, and then you choose to inspect the document. Choose Inspect here. You need to save the changes first. And then here we can inspect it. Let's say you don't care for these other document properties, your name and that type of stuff, how long it took. But yet we want to remove all the comments, revisions, and so on. We click on Inspect, and then remove all the comments and notes about the comments. Reinspect it again. And now it is safe for you to send this document to your audience, and they will not be able to view any of those comments that you had made while working with your team. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to save an existing document as a PDF file. The advantage of a PDF file is that the user or the viewer that you're sending this document is going to access it exactly how you have saved it, and they also cannot modify it, and they can open it in multiple devices as needed without needing Microsoft Word. So to convert this document into a PDF, there are a couple ways to do it, but one of the simplest ones is to click here on File and then choose Export. And then under this option, Create PDF or XPS document, you simply click on Create PDF XPS, and then give it a name. Take note where you're saving it and then give it a name. Press publish, and that's all that there is to it. And now the document has been saved into PDF. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to protect a document with a password and how to encrypt it with a password. So we have here this existing document, and then we go here under File, and then we go under Info. From here we have this option, Protect Document. Click on it, and then choose to restrict it with a password or to encrypt it with a password. Click on Encrypt with a password, and then enter a password that you'll remember. Notice that the passwords are going to be case sensitive. We need to confirm the password again, and now a password will be required in order for us to open this document. Now if I go ahead and close this document, and I had saved this as a working document for videos number 3. This was the document I was working on earlier. Double click on it. We'll be prompted to use a password. And then we'll be able to open it. Now to remove the password, in case you needed to do that, you click here on File again, and then you go under Info, and then under Protect Document, we need to click on Encrypt with the password. Just click on it again, and then we erase whatever the password is that we had from earlier. Then go back, save the document, reopen it, and it should not ask us to open it with a password again. So that's how you set a password on a document and how you remove it. In this segment of the Microsoft Word tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to remove personal information from a document. So we have this document, and if we click here on File and then we go under Info, it shows us how long we worked on this document, who worked on it, who created it, who modified it last, and also the date and time it was printed and modified and things of that nature. And then you can also click here on Show All Properties and see additional properties for this document as well. So there are a couple ways to clear this personal information. This would be helpful if you're sending this document outside of the organization and you don't want how long it showed your total editing time or other properties as well. You don't want that part of information sent to whoever is receiving it. So to do that, one of the options is to do it directly here from Microsoft Word by using the Inspect option. And the other option is to go under File Explorer and remove the personal information from there as well. And I'm going to show both of those in a moment here. So to remove the personal properties from here, we click on Check for Issues, then we click on Inspect Document, and then you can leave the comments, revisions, and that type of stuff checked. But the one that you want to make sure to remove is this Document Properties and Personal Information. But for now, we're just going to remove the personal information, Personal Document Properties and Personal Information. We click on Inspect, and then choose to remove them all. Then re-inspect it again, inspect it until you get a green check mark from here. If we go back, notice it will not have the author, it will not have the total editing time and all that type of stuff, but basically it has removed any of those this personal information. So that's one way to remove it. The other way to remove the personal information is to go to your files here, right-click on it and then choose Properties, and we are using a Windows Explorer. So to get to it, we just go to Explorer, to File Explorer here, go to the file that you want, right-click, choose Properties, and then click here on the Details tab. And right now it doesn't have the author and all that stuff because I just removed it from a moment ago. If I go to this other one, click under Details, notice that it has all these different pieces of information. We click here on Remove Properties and Personal Information, and you can select to remove any of these items. So we choose Select All, click OK, and it's going to clear all of these properties from that document. So that's how you remove personal information both ways or either way here in Microsoft Word. In this segment of the Microsoft Word tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to protect the document to allow only specific permissions for editing the document. So we have here this document, and we click on File, and then we go here under Info, and then notice under Protect Document we have these options. So we can change it so that it's always read-only. So whenever this document is opened, it will be opened only as read-only. Or you can restrict editing for this particular document. And you can also grant only access to a document to a specific user. For now, we are going to work only on restricting editing. So we click on Restrict Editing, and then we choose here what to allow or disallow. So you can actually go here in Formatting Styles and restrict it so that users cannot change the theme, or they can block the quick style editing, or allow only specific styles to be used in this particular document. Next, we can allow only, for example, only tracking the changes in the document, or only commenting in the document, or only filling forms in this particular document. And then you can set these permissions for everyone or for specific users. So for specific users, you have to be connected to a domain within the company and then basically specify the name of the domain in your company or the email address of that user, and you separate those users with semicolons. And then you simply click on Start Enforcing Protection, and that's all that you need to do. Now, to modify those permissions, in case somebody needs additional access, they'll need to enter a password. If the user enters a password, then they can make adjustments to the permissions of this document. I open up the document again, and at this point, when I come back here to make any modifications, notice that I have been restricted to making any modifications to this particular document. So I can either go here under Review tab. Basically, I'm allowed at this point to make only comments in this document. Now, if I wanted to stop the protection of this document, notice I'm prompted to enter a password. So as the owner, I can go in and enter the password and then remove those restrictions in this particular document. In this segment, I will demonstrate how to share a document with other users. One way to share it is in a network drive on your network. So it could be a K drive, J drive, or whatever it is on the network. The other option is to share it by clicking here on File and then choose Share. Now you can share it using the OneDrive option, and you're signed into OneDrive, or you can share it as an attachment by copying this, and it will prompt you to send a copy of this document provided you have Microsoft Outlook configured. if you have Microsoft Outlook configured, it will open Microsoft Outlook, and I don't have that configured right now on this for this tutorial, and it'll put it as an attachment. If you choose the PDF option, it's going to have it as an attachment. It's going to open your email and have it as an attachment as part of that email. Now, if you want to use OneDrive, you simply select the OneDrive option here, double-click on it, and now you can choose. Anyone with a link can edit it. You can enter the name of the user, select the name of the user, add a new message, or you can copy the link and just send them the link to that document via an email. So you just click on copy now, and you simply, in your email, you copy this link and you send it to them as part of your email. So that's one way to collaborate with one of the users in sharing this document. Now, notice that instead of clicking on File and then choose Share, where we come to these options, you also can do the sharing directly from up here on the top right. So you click on Share, and basically it will give you the same options as before. In this segment of the Word tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to open a PDF in Microsoft Word so we can edit it. Typically, when you have a PDF document, you cannot modify it very easily. With Word 2016 or later, you can actually open a PDF document in Word and then modify it from there. So we have this document here that, as you can see, it's in PDF. And let's say we don't have the Word version of it. Now, what we can do is open Word and then simply go and locate the document. If you don't see the PDF option, we want to choose the All Files option. Then click on the PDF file, then click on Open, and then it will prompt you that it will convert it into an editable Word document. It'll take a while depending on the length of your and the complexity of the document. Click OK here, and then simply wait for it to open. Now at this point, notice I can go and edit and add more stuff here. Once you have opened the document, then from here we can save it and then return to it at any point. So notice I have it here, Word in working with videos, and modify it as you need. In some other cases, you might have documents which are a little bit more complex. So we go here under Open, Browse for the file, and then let's say I have this document that has columns and that type of stuff and images. Click on it, and let's say I have it only in PDF. Click on Open, it'll prompt us, and then you can still modify it as you need. And then simply save it, and then you have a Word document to work with. Now, if you want to convert it into a PDF file, again, to share it you can simply click on File, press Export, press Create PDF XPS, and then this will save it in PDF again for sharing. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how to perform a mail merge. The process is actually very similar to other versions of Microsoft Word as well. It's not identical. So let's say I have this long document here, and I want to do a mail merge and send this to individuals. For now, I'm going to create a new page here. I'm going to insert a new page, and I'm going to put their information in there for my clients, let's say. So in this case, I'm going to go under Insert, and I'm going to insert a page break, so just so that I have a blank page here to start with. And then in here, I'm going to make it so that this document can be customized for each individual. It has their address and their name and some kind of information as well. And by the way, this doesn't have to be a document like this. It can be a blank document, a letter that you sent. It could be invoices. It could be whatever notices that you send out there. It's very similar to letters that you receive from various companies out there that have your name on top of it. You have to have a document in Word, and you have to have an Excel document as well, and that's best to use Excel. Let's assume this is the list of my customers. I have their first name, last name, the street address. Of course, this is all fictitious, the zip code, and then a bunch of email addresses, and you could have also comment 1, 2, 3. So this would be personalized comments. So this is what the comment that I could write, for example, for customer 1. Now customer 2, I would say, and so on. Now one key thing to remember as well as you build your list in Excel is that the first row here needs to have the field names, or it's best to have the field names. So first name, last name, telephone, street address, and keep those separate as well if you can. Keep as many fields as you want here, or columns with comments, because you can utilize this for multiple mail merges. And the way you'll be doing it is that you can link the same data file, and you keep on updating this from month to month, and you link it to the same report or the same mail merge that you do for your customers. So in this case, let's say we are all good to go here. We have maintained this list. This is our customer list. Notice that the tab here on the bottom, it says customer. So now I'm going to save it. Now in here, I want to create a new mail merge. So I go under Mailings, and then I go under Start Mail Merge. And the best thing to do is, or what I'd suggest that you do is, click on Step-by-Step Mail Merge Wizard. In here, notice that there is pane in the right-hand side shows up, and it asks you, do you want to create letters, email messages, envelopes, labels, and so on. You can do emails, and that's a powerful feature, and I'll try to demonstrate that in another video here, or actual letters like the old days that you used to do, print them in a paper and stuff them in an envelope and send them and that type of thing. So for now, we're going to learn how to do letters. We click on Next Step to start the document. It says, do you want to use the current document that we have opened here, or do you want to start from a template, or do you want to use an existing document that you have from some other time? So I say I want to use the current one, and then the next step here is to select the recipients. Now it says, do you want to use an existing list, or do you want to create a new list? In our case, we are going to use an existing list, that Excel file that I opened a moment ago. Also, you can use Outlook if you use Microsoft Outlook as well. Now, type a new list. You can do it from here from Microsoft Word. However, I'd recommend create a list in Excel if you're going to have to create a new list, because it's much easier to manage in the future and update. So we click here on Use an Existing List. We click on Browse, and then we have to find the file. And this is my customer list for the mail merge. I click on Open. That's my Excel file, basically. And here is my customer table. Notice there are two sheets in there, but I want to use, remember I mentioned earlier, customer. Click OK. Now notice this is the list of all the customers in that Excel spreadsheet. You could also sort them a certain way if you wanted, so you can sort them alphabetically by first name, by last name, and all that type of thing. And then you can also filter them if you needed to. So let's say you want only by a specific zip code or by a specific criteria and so on. You could basically simply click on Filter and choose the field name. And let's say here's a zip. And you would say zip equal to some number or greater than some number and so on. So in this case, I'm going to cancel that. You could find duplicates to avoid sending duplicates. And then you simply click on OK here. At this point, we are ready. We have told the system that we're going to use the existing document and an existing list. Now the next thing it says, write your letter. Now in my letter here, it's saying, well, put in your address block. I could put this by clicking on it, or we could insert the fields manually. I would recommend that you tinker with it manually. So you could say, dear, and then choose here the insert field option. So dear first name. The computer will put the first name in there. Then you go to the next line here, and then you start writing your letter basically. Now, the other thing you could do is, in here you could put their address so that it will be part of the envelope. So we click here under Insert Field, first name, space, last name, and then Insert Field, street address, city, comma, state, and the zip. Now, those look coded, but computer is going to pull them one by one and match them with the Excel spreadsheet, so don't panic on that. Now in here you would write your letter. You'd say below is the annual report for your investments. Let's assume this is an investment report. And you could also insert here, remember in Excel we had a comments field, you could put a comments field in here. Now at this point you put your name there. You could also insert an image if you needed to, or a logo, or whatever part of your, it's going to be duplicated across all the pages. Now at this stage you could simply actually save this. If you were to save it at this point and you'd give it a name, the reason why I saved it is because you could at any point open this and it's going to pull your data automatically from your Excel file if you needed to do another mail merge in 6 months or whatever. Now the next thing here, notice it says preview your letters. So notice it says this is the address, Alex, and so on. And you could kind of preview them right here. Next, next, next. Now, a lot of people, they stop here, but you need to finish to complete your merge. You can click here under complete merge, and then you can either choose to print them or edit individual letters. Notice there's also a finish and merge option on the top here as well. So in my case, particularly what I usually prefer to edit individual letters. And then I'm going to choose all of them. Now it's going to take a little while because I have 29 pages here and I have a lot of customers. So notice now we have one letter or long report for every one of the customers here. So notice we have here, the first one is for Alex. And now we have to keep on scrolling because this is a long report. And now here's Amber. That's the next customer. And again, like I mentioned, it's going to be a long one. So suppose you have 2 or 3 pages, and this would be much more meaningful. But basically, we're creating a personalized report here for each one of the customers. And here's for the next third one. Keep in mind, again, the key there is that this is the output at this stage. If we were to look at the documents that I have opened here, and apparently I have many of them, but this is the one with merged results. It says letters, one word. This we can actually trash it after we are done with it. We don't need to save it unless you need it for documentation purposes. This is our form. So at this point, if I close this and I save the changes, if I go to open this again, so this was the one for mail merge form, notice it prompts you, it says this, opening this document will run the following commands. Select from customer order by first name and last name. Do you want to update it? Yes. And now it's linking it to the Excel file. Now at any point we can go here under mailings and it's ready. We can simply click on finish and merge and it's going to merge all of those just like it did earlier. So hopefully that is helpful. And keep in mind again before I end this session that you can always update the Excel file and you can always reuse the form file. The results page, the merged results, you don't necessarily need to save them unless you need to keep them for documentation purposes as to what you sent out. In this brief video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create an email merge to contact customers via email and send them customized emails with their name and specific information pertaining to their account or pertaining to them. So the way it works is that you have to have an Excel file where you're keeping track of the data. By the way, this does not have to be just Excel. It can be data in Access database. It could be data pulled from another system and so on. It could be data from Outlook and so on. But the simplest way is to have it in an Excel file. It's important that on the first column here you'd have the actual field names for what they stand for. For example, this column stands for first name, and it has all the first names and the last name and then telephone number and so on. The labels here on the top, we'll use them from within Word when we do the email merge. The other thing that you will need to have in order to do an email merge is that you need to have an email address or a field with the email address for each of the customers. Of course, the email shouldn't be exactly the same for all the customers, otherwise it will not really work the way you intend it to. In order for this to work is that you need to have Microsoft Outlook installed or a MAPI compliant email application installed. And usually if you have Office in your computer, the Microsoft Outlook client application comes with it, and most likely you are using it. Or in a business environment you'd be using that. So the way this works is you'd go in Microsoft Word. So we can close the Excel file at this point. We go into Word and we'll create a new document. It doesn't have to be a new one. You can use an existing email or an existing template from Word that you are using. Again, this works in conjunction with Excel and Outlook and Word. So we are using 3 applications from the Office suite. So in this case, we go under Mailings, and then we click on Start a Mail Merge. Then we go under Mail Merge Wizard, and then we go under Email Messages. The process is exactly the same as for creating labels or creating regular mail merge for letters. The only difference is in the very end when it initiates using Outlook. So in this case, we'll go to next step here. We chose email messages, then start the document, and we are going to use the current document. If we wanted to use something else, we can pick one from here. Then we click the recipients. We have to tell the computer what the recipients. We're going to use an existing list, and we are going to click on Browse to find the list. Then we'll go under wherever we have our Excel file. So you'd know wherever you saved it, and you'll pick the first field that shows up from your Excel file. If your Excel file has more tabs and you're using those tabs, then of course that's what you'd be picking here as well. Notice here it says first row of data contains column headers. You'll click OK, and then this is our data. We can filter it, we can sort it, we can do other stuff here, but for the sake of simplicity, we're not going to tinker with that, and then we're going to click OK. The next step here, it is to write the email message. So we click, and then we go to start writing it. We can say Dear, and then insert the field. Dear first name. And let's assume at this point that the order number was actually this one under customer ID. We're going to mix it at this point a little bit. So you put in that, and then you can put in other comments, and you can put in whatever other fields that you might be keeping from your data file. So now if we wanted to insert a coupon or whatever it may be, we go online here, we search under Bing for a coupon code. Let's assume that's the coupon. We can format this a little bit better if we wanted to and customize it further. And the next thing is we can click on Preview Your Email. Notice it says Dear Owen, thank you for a recent order 1105, and then we can go to the next customer here, and you can see Dear John, Dear Harry, Dear Kathy, and so on, so you can see it. It's going to send them exactly the same email, but it's going to be personalized with their own name and also some kind of pertinent information related to them. Now in this case, we can click on complete the merge, and then the option here, which is different from regular mail merges, is that it's asking us for electronic mail. Then we tell it that the to field is in the email column for the Excel file. So if we had that labeled somewhere else or something different, then you would choose whatever the name of that column is. So in this case, I'm going to choose email, and then you can put a subject line. This will be the title of your email, as just like your regular emails. Then the format, you want to have the format, if you're going to use pictures like this, you want to make it HTML format. And then you'd simply click OK. Now at this point, the way it works is that the system is going to connect and utilize Microsoft Outlook, and it is going to send those emails one after the other. It's not going to be like a distribution list. It's going to be just one email after the other. Now be cautious and careful here that you don't blast everybody with this type of email or send the wrong email and you misuse the list. So basically, if I were to hit OK here, it is going to send those emails out based on the Excel list. Now at this point, I'm not going to do that because we get the idea, I hope. And what you can do at this stage, if you go back to where you had the codes here, if something is not correct, you can always go back and correct it into the Excel file and then rerun it again. Now what you can do as well is that you can save this file, notice with the codes here, and if I save it, I'll give the name here on, and then if I'm to go back here after 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever, and I come back to Word again, and then go to open it, here's my sample email. Notice it's going to come up and ask me, do you want to link to the customer's file in Excel? Of course I want to say yes, and then from this point on we can go here under the steps and then choose just next basically, and here they are, and basically just complete the merge and do the electronic mail again. So basically you don't have to redesign the form all the time. It works exactly the same. You can save the form both in regular mail merges, in label mail merges, and email mail merges, and reuse the same form multiple times, and you just keep the Excel file up to date. In this brief session, I'm going to explain the process on how to create labels. The process is actually simpler than one thinks, or they are used to probably tinkering with it. But basically, all you have to have is Microsoft Word, and then the best is to use an Excel file. The Excel file could be a list of names. On the first row can be different labels, for example, the customer number, the company, the first name, last name, telephone, street address, city, zip, and so on. You could have here any other new fields as well. So this list, as you can see, you can create it by either extracting it from an existing system, or you can simply type those addresses and keep those in a list somehow, somewhere, by simply typing them one after the other. So then the next step here is, I'm going to close this. You don't need the Excel file open when you do this. And we need to go to Microsoft Word. Under Word, we need to click on Mailings tab here. So we click on actually a mail merge option here. And then we go under step-by-step wizard. I usually recommend the step-by-step wizard because it takes you step by step, as it says, in order to generate those labels. So we click here, and then we tell the system that we are going to create labels. Then click on Next to start the document. Then The next here is telling us that we are going to use the current document layout, or you can use an existing document if you want, but in this case it's going to be labels just populated with the basic names and addresses. If you wanted something where it says labels for with other information, then you can simply type it here on the left hand side. Then the next option here is to choose label options. We need to tell the system what kind of labels are we using for this mail merge. Then here under label vendors, unless you have Microsoft, you need to change it to something else. And usually the most common one is the Avery US letter. Under Avery US letter, notice there are a lot of different ones. And usually when you go to the store and buy those, you'll have the number directly on the label. So it will tell you on the box of labels as to which number it is, which product number. So one of the common ones that we use is the Avery 5160, which tells me it's 1 inch in height and then 2.63 inches. So we click OK here. The next step here in the bottom, notice it says go to select the recipients. So we click on select recipients, and then you can use an existing list, you can use the contacts from Outlook, or you can type a new list if you wanted as well. But like I said earlier, it's easier to just type the list first in Excel and then you just utilize that list. So we go here under use an existing list, and then we go and find it and locate it. Click on browse, and then we are going to go here under week 3, and this is the customer list for mail merge. Now in here there are 2 tabs or 2 sheets in this spreadsheet. Now when I had this earlier, it was the first one, so basically I'm not going to open it again, but it's going to be one of the first ones. Usually when you open Excel, it's going to have 2 to 3 tabs that it starts with. So we'll pick the first one, and these are all the names. You could filter those names if you wanted, but for now we're going to leave everything alone for the sake of simplicity. Then we're going to go, and here on the first one we're going to click on Insert Merge Field. So we go here to the first label, and then we click on Merge, Insert Merge Field, and we say Insert First Name, a space, Insert Last Name, hit Enter, then Insert Street Address, hit Enter again, and then we are going to insert the city, comma, state, and then the zip. Now here is where pretty much everybody has problems, because the labels don't populate through all the fields. So the next thing what you need to do here is we click on Arrange Labels, and then the next thing what you have to do here is click on Update All Labels. So before you go and preview them, you want to update the same information that you see here to all of the labels all over in that same sheet. So the computer will do this automatically for you, and this is just for the labels. You click on Update All Labels, and notice it's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Then we click on Preview Your Labels, and notice the information is posted. If for some reason we want to change something here, we could go back to the previous step where the code stuff is, highlight it, let's say the first and last name, we want to make it bold. Click on bold there. If you want to put the word to, we could do that right in front of it. But then remember to update all labels again, and that will populate all the labels. Then preview your labels, and then complete the merge. You can preview them, how it's going to look page by page by page, but basically the last step what you want to do is complete the mail merge. You complete it, you could print it, or you can click on Edit Individual Labels. If we click on Edit Individual Labels, click on OK, this is the final product. So the final product here, basically, it's the whole merged results. This you shouldn't have to tinker with it. If something is not correct, it is recommended that you go back to your Excel file. I'm not going to save the results here. You go to your Excel file, you change whatever you need to change, and then you come here to the previous step, which, by the way, you can save this form, and you can save it particularly with the codes at this stage, and anytime you run it in the future, it will actually pull from the same list of addresses and list of information. You just have to keep the same file, the data file, and the form, this is referred to as the form file, in the same folder. It's basically the same folder, or linked it, the same structure that it was to start with. And then once you change something, you just go back to preview the labels and complete the merge all over again. In this brief session, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the compare feature between documents, between two documents. So let's say this is one of my documents here. I'm going to save it. And I want to compare this with another version of another document. So what you do is you click on, we are in the Home tab at this point. We want to go under the Review tab, and then we click on Compare. We want to compare two versions of a document. So we're going to put the original document here on the left. Here it is. This one is the original, and the revised version is the modified version 2. I'm going to check it for all of these properties, whether tabs were added, tables, fields, anything. And then I click OK. At this point, this is a combined view showing the changes between one and the other. So notice the word more effectively, here it was deleted, and if we keep on scrolling down, display, the word display was deleted as well, the word editing was deleted, and so on. So I just changed a couple of the words in this case. The other thing that you can do is you can go here under compare, and then under Show Source Documents, you can click on Show Both of them. We'll be able to see them side by side as to what was changed in each one of them. So here's the original over here, and that's the revised version of it. Notice the word more. Communicate, one has more effectively, the other one doesn't, and so on. So that's how you can use the compare feature between the two documents. And then down here is basically a summary of what changed specifically for both documents and where the revisions were. It works. It's not ideal and perfect, but it's somewhat effective. Macros are a great tool while you are working in a document, particularly when you have to perform various repetitive tasks. So instead of you doing one thing over and over and over again through all the different steps, what you can do is you can record all of those steps in a macro, and then you simply execute that macro. So here's how it works. To get to the macros, all that we have to do is we go under the View tab in Word, and then we go under the macros option here. Then we click on Record Macro. In this case, I'm going to record bringing up labels, for example, label Avery 5160. So instead of you having to do all of those steps time after time, you simply execute the macro. So we click here on Record Macro, and then we'll give it a name. Now, it says that assign macro to, you can assign the macro to a specific button, which would be an icon here somewhere in the quick access toolbar or somewhere. So you can assign to this macro a button or a keyboard shortcut. So in this case, I'm going to assign a button, and then notice it says new macro, macro 1. You can change the name if you'd like. And then I'm going to add this. Notice it's going to be on the quick access toolbar. But I'm going to add this also to the right hand side here. So I want to customize my quick access toolbar. So I want to click on add, and then I'm going to click OK. All that is going to do is it put this icon over here. Now notice that at this point next to the mouse there's this little cassette tape. That means that every step or every click that I perform from this point on until I stop it, all of those steps are going to be recorded. So now to insert a label, usually you'd go under mailings and then you'll go under labels. Once you go under labels, we need to go here under options, and then we'll pick the specific type of label that we want. We said earlier that we wanted Avery 5160. So we go here under label vendors and we will want to change this to Avery. So you choose Avery US leather. And then the number here, it actually depends on the box of labels that you purchased from the store. So we want here 5160, for example. And there it is. So we click OK. And then here we click on New Document. Now notice it brought and it designed this document to be that type of label. So this is where we want our macro to stop. So at this point, all we have to do is we click here under View, we go back to Macros, and we choose Stop Recording. So now the macro has been recorded and all the steps have been recorded. Notice we have an icon here on the very top. So let's assume now another day came by and we want to create labels. So we go here under New, we choose Document, and all of a sudden we have a need for those labels for Avery 5160, and we don't have to go and search for the label, search for the vendor and all that type of stuff. So all we have to do at this point is we click on this icon here for the macro, and notice the label definition has been applied. So it's the same step for anything else that you do in a repetitious way within Word. All of those steps, you can record them exactly the same way. You can use macros to open a file from a specific location, or you can have it to create labels or put headers, footers, or whatever else that you do within Microsoft Word. In this brief tutorial, I'll explain how to insert equations in a Word document. Word includes equations that you can drop into your documents. No formatting required. If the built-in equations don't meet your needs, then you can modify them, or you can build your own sophisticated equations from scratch. So here's how it works. Suppose I'm typing here my document. Now what you can do is you can click here under Insert, and then go under Equation. And I'm using here Word 2016. You click on the drop down here, and then you can use one of those equations that already exist in here, and then customize them as you feel like. That's one way of doing this. Or if I want to delete it, I'm pressing backspace here, and I go back to Insert Equation, I can go and insert one manually. So notice here there is an option for Insert New Equation. By the way, there are also other ones that you can download from office.com and just customize them as you want them. Now here, if I want to insert a new equation, and I'm going to do a very simple one here, click on New Insert New Equation, and then simply start typing. So 2, and then notice you have these tools here on the very top. This is for basic math. So now I'm going to use the asterisk here for the multiplication, and then type whatever your formula is going to be. Then hit enter, and there is your equation. Now another cool tool that you can use, you can go here under Insert and then choose Equation, and then you can actually take this ink equation where you can actually draw with the mouse on the screen, or if you have a touch screen, you can use your finger here, and you can basically write your formula just like that. And then If you're happy with it, so notice how it's going to convert it here. You click on Insert, and there is your new equation. So we covered how to insert one of the templates that Office has, to create one from scratch, and also to convert one from writing with a mouse or with your finger on the screen and converting into a formula.